Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be working on the Audi S4 and I am going to be revealing what is inside this box. Right, so first things first, yes, I know the garage is an absolute tip. But we're going to be working around that today because I want to film some content for you guys and I want to get these brakes on because I'm quite excited about them. So, inside this box, AP Racing obviously, open these up. So this is an AP Racing CP9660 and these are currently used on the British touring cars. Now I know these are doing the rounds and everyone is seeming to use these because they are the absolute best. I've not actually seen one on a B5 chassis before. I'm sure there are, I'm not saying I'm the only one, but I've not seen any. So I have got these calipers and I'm going to try and make them fit, obviously not onto this upright here. I've already got it on the bench here to see if I can make them fit. Now what I was intending on using before was some Brembo 18Z calipers, which is quite a common upgrade on these, but the problem with them is the brake pads. It's really difficult to get hold of some decent brake pads. I know you can get them from the likes of Carbotech, they will make some XP8s, XP10s, XP12s, whatever you want. They can make any brake pad for any caliper or any car. However, the cost of these are phenomenal, so you are probably looking around £300 set, and because they're consumable items you go through them fairly rapidly. Now the reason why I want to use these calipers is because I can get hold of brake pads relatively cheaply. They're used touring car sets, and yeah, obviously they're used in racing and they're about as good as you can get. That's one of the main reasons why I want to use these, as well as their phenomenal braking performance. And this is the disc I intend to use with it. Now it's 36mm thick and the diameter of these is 368mm, so they're absolutely massive. I'll also have to use some brake bells and they'll eventually fit on there. Now I haven't got the floating bobbins for this. I'll be getting hold of some, but at the moment what I'll probably just do is nut and bolt them so they are in one piece and I can test fit them on the car. So yeah, the idea is you get some bobbins, a bobbin kit from AP, and it allows the top hat to move independently of the disc. So when the rotor heats up, the difference in the expansion and contraction from the aluminium bell and the steel rotor doesn't affect the braking performance because they're separate from one another. So that's the idea behind them. So to mount the caliper, these are radial mounts, which is those holes in there, and you can see on the upright we have some lug mounts. So I was going to attempt to make my own caliper brackets and I went as far as purchasing a massive billet of aluminium, as you can see there. I also bought a cross slide for the lathe and some end mills and things like that, so I was going to try and mill a bracket out myself on the lathe, but as it happened, probably the day after I received that massive billet of aluminium, eBay came through and in fact I picked up a set of these. Now I don't actually know if these are going to work because these are for an Audi TT8S, I think it is, and through me looking around I think the Audi 8S fits the 8Z calipers directly to the uprights, which this does here. So in theory I'm thinking that these mounts should be able to fit on there and fit that caliper, and hopefully the offset is correct that this fits, because this top hat came as part of that eBay purchase, so this is for an Audi TT8S as well. So I'm going to try and make that fit, and one of the issues that I do have, and what I'm going to tackle first, is, although the PCD is correct, if I push this down, so even though the PCD is correct, the centre bore isn't quite right. So it clears this portion of the hub, but you can see that this is not sitting all the way down flush. I don't know whether you can see in there, and you can see in there there's a gap. Hopefully that comes out on camera. But yeah, I need to open up the centre bore on here. What I'll also have to do is, if I take that off, so what I'm also going to have to do is, these studs also have a little lump at the bottom here, so that, obviously you've seen how tight that is over those studs. I'm going to have to open out 5 of these holes so they clear these here. So I'll probably do that first. And then I'm going to try and somehow mount this onto my little 7-inch Myford lathe. So I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to do it, because I'm going to have to bore out the inside of here, and I can't use the chuck to grab that, and as well as you've noticed that the bed of the lathe is kind of in the way, but I'm hoping if I can find a way of mounting this, I can have this run in this sort of area here. Don't know what it's called, but the bit between the chuck and the end of the bed. Hopefully I can make that work. Otherwise I'm going to have to send this off and get that lathed elsewhere, which I don't really want to do because I like doing stuff myself, and yeah, I like a bit of a challenge. So first things first, I'm going to open out those holes so it drops onto there slightly easier, and it clears these little lumps here. So I've been looking at this a little while, and I've just had a thought of what I could do. I'll just pull this chuck off here. So with the chuck removed, this does fit in here, but I've been wondering how I can actually mount this onto there, and I came up with an idea actually. In my box of bits down here, which came with the lathe actually, my wife's grandfather has given this to me, so thank you very much to him. This, I'm not entirely sure what it's for. This can go on here like so, and then I can bolt this to that plate, and it just about clears the bottom. So I'll get some bolts, and I'll get some washers actually, because I've got to hold this off the face of this plate, and yeah, bolt that on, and then hopefully I should be able to make it run true, but we'll see if that works. So there we go, check that out. As you can see, it's not running in the centre, but it's fairly close. But that has to be absolutely bang on, otherwise the disc is going to route around on the hub like that. So what I'm going to do is I'll get the mag base and dial gauge, and I will true this out, and hopefully it's not too far out already, but we'll get there. So here we go. You can see it's out of true on the DTI, and there's a fairly easy way to work out where you want this to go. Is firstly go to one extreme there, 0 off the gauge, and then measure how far out it comes all the way around to 84, almost 85, yeah, almost 85, so that's 0.085 of a mil going up and down. So what we do is we half that, so half of 84 is 42 obviously, quick maths there, Andy, and we bring this round to 42. We can zero the gauge off again. So we know that 0 point is where the piece is running true. So if I go this way, the piece is coming up. If I go this way, the piece is going down. So what I want to do is find the highest point there. And if I find something to tap this with. So now that is zeroed. I keep going round and going up to the high point, tap it down again. So we're not far off there, we are within about 0.04 of a mil, going up and down there. So again, find the mil point, it's there, zero that off, goes down, comes up, high point there, tap that down. So we are now running plus or minus 0.01 mil. So I'm pretty happy with how true that is. All I'm going to do is snug the nut and bolt up and then run it again, make sure it's nice and true, and then we are good to go. So if I quickly spin that up, you can see the center is perfectly true. You may see a little bit of a wobble, but that's because this isn't flat on the back plate, because I've obviously spaced it off on the washers. So this doesn't run completely true that way, but up and down, from your view, this should be nice and straight. Anyway, here's the boring bit. Stupendous. Right, one thing that I have done is if I whip this off, I've had to clearance the bottom of this upright here. Now this is fairly common when you run big brakes on these, just because the offset of the disc, you normally have to grind this off, and that's normally the case with the 18Z calipers. If you're using the Mercedes discs, which is fairly common, you've got to grind this part away. I don't know about the steel uprights, just because these are aluminium and I think they're slightly bulkier, but quite a few people do this, so I don't think it's going to cause any issues. Hopefully it doesn't. Obviously if it does cause issues, I have to rethink this, but hopefully no problems there. Okay, so the next part is obviously I need to get this mounted onto that upright with these lugs here. So I know that the caliper will fit onto the mount, but I don't know whether it will fit to the upright and whether the offset will be correct. But I do know that the 18Z calipers that I did have bolted directly to this are also a direct bolt onto the Audi TT8S. So I'm hoping that this bracket will fit onto here, and if we offer that up, the holes do line up, and like I say, I know that the caliper will fit onto here. I just don't know whether the offset will be correct, but the only way to find out is to bolt it up and see. The brackets are bolted on. I've just used some bolts that I've found that fit, because they're actually the same thread in these as wheel bolts, so I just had these laying around. I will get some proper ones obviously, but they clear, and you may have noticed that these brackets were already ground a little bit in here, and the light isn't great and the clearance is quite tight there, but it does clear and it spins freely, so that's good news. All I've got to do now is bolt the caliper onto there, and hopefully we're all good. So there we are, caliper mounted to the upright and everything clears. So what I have had to do is, between the caliper and the bracket, I've had to put this spacer in, and actually the set that I bought did come with a load of spacers, so I'm guessing that's where they were supposed to go, because otherwise the caliper bottomed out on the edge of the disc and it wouldn't spin. Now what I have done is I've grabbed a pad and just put it in here, just to check to make sure that it clears the top hat, and also that it uses all of the disc, and you can see that there lines up pretty much perfectly with the edge of the disc, so the caliper is in exactly the correct position. I mean, it couldn't go in any further because it would start rubbing on the inside here, and if it were further out then the pad would hang over the edge of the disc. So that's in the perfect position, and it is centrally located into the caliper there, so offset is perfect. Everything fits, so all I've got to do now is take this apart again and put it in here, and then I've obviously got to do the other side too. So there we are, that's that side done, and that side's done as well, and they look absolutely fantastic. Right, so I'm going to call that pretty much done for this video. I'm really happy with how that has turned out. It was going to be a lot more hard work if I were to make the brackets myself, and I didn't really know what I was going to do about the bells. But yeah, I lucked out and obviously found those brackets and bells on eBay, and they were a really good price, and they bought it straight up. So obviously, car's looking pretty good in the sun. Obviously that's not the end of the brakes. Obviously I've got to plumb in all the hard lines, and I've got to plumb in the pedal box, and obviously run the lines to the rear brakes as well, which I don't think I've shown you. I'll show you now actually whilst I'm here. This is what I've got in the rear: Wilwood 6-piston 2-piece rear discs. Now these came off of another car. It actually came off the Volvo originally. They were on the front of the Volvo, but they weren't particularly good on there. They're designed for a slightly lighter car, but they should be fine here on the rear. I've actually got some spacers on the caliper there, so it accepts a much thicker disc, so it should be absolutely fine on the rear of here. You'll notice I've got some new wheels on there as well, some very nice SL01s, Japan Racing. So like I mentioned, there's a lot more to do with the brakes, but for now that is the end of this video. Hope you've enjoyed this one. I certainly have. It's been nice to work actually on the S4. I still have to finish off the manifold, which you've probably seen in the background on the bench. I'm going to get on to that next. There's lots of Volvo content coming up, so stick around for that if you enjoy that stuff. So if you've liked the video, please hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't done so, and I will see you in the next one.